though I just got back, I'm in a whole different time zone. And so I've been traveling a lot. I've been in, I don't know how many states in the last 3 weeks, doing what I thought I was going to be doing a few months ago. COVID has messed every schedule I've ever made into something else. And then when I got to my destination, thinking I was going to do that thing that I wasn't able to do, the speaker where I was going got COVID again. It messed everything up. So I had all of this time while I was in Crestone, Colorado this last week with nothing to do, which was an interesting thing. Crestone, Colorado is kind of this spiritual mecca where a lot of spiritual communities come together and thrive in community as one. All kinds of nationalities, all kinds of spiritual walks and religious centers are there. And they're usually all open to the public. And COVID showed up in their little town and closed it the day I got there. Now, luckily, there's a mountain right behind it. So I've been doing a lot of hiking. I'll hopefully can stand here for 20 minutes and talk. My legs hurt so much. But you know, when I got out into the forest, out on the mountain, I thought, okay, what am I going to do here for a week? Because I had all these wonderful plans with all these people. And then it went somewhere else. Well, what a great time for self-reflection, right? I mean, when you've already paid for the trip and you've already got the Airbnb and you've already traveled 14 hours to get there. So I was thinking about some questions as I was sitting there next to a lovely stream in the mountains. And they were questions that we all ask at some point. Questions like, who am I? What am I doing here? What's my purpose? What was I born for? You know, they're a little bit existential, and at the same time, we all think them. But do we ever find the answer? Do we ever really sit with the question long enough for the answer to be attracted to us? Or are they just more fleeting questions? And so as I kind of sat there and pondered that, I remembered something that Socrates once said. And at the time that I first heard this, I thought it was something else. Socrates said this: the unexamined life is not worth living. The unexamined life is not worth living. Now, if you're in depression and you hear that, you might hear something different than what he was actually saying, which is that this life experience is such a gift. It's so worthwhile that if we were to be mindful in each moment of it, we would find only joy and success and happiness and freedom. And when we disconnect from that a little bit, whether that's for 1 minute, 1 month, 1 week, 1 year, 1 lifetime, whatever that is, that we feel that disconnection in every area of our life. You ever had that feeling of disconnection? Maybe of not belonging? Maybe even during the pandemic when we were all kind of huddled in our own place for a while. We have that place of, I really want to be together again. You know, when we step back and look and examine that life that Socrates said, you need to examine it. It's worthy of that. When we step back and look at it, what we're actually looking at is a life that is full of truth, and then those things that are contrary to truth, as Charles Fillmore would call something. And so we have great truths in our life. The fact that the sun is going to come out tomorrow is a pretty darn good truth you can bet on, whether you see it or not. And then there are those little truths that aren't so great. You know, I've got a whole closet full of little truths that once were really true for me, but now they don't fit. I mean, they're not true anymore, right? So you have to just kind of balance with what a real truth is, what one isn't. As I was sitting in the forest next to this little river, this little stream, I don't know why, but I looked up, there was a tree that had fallen and kind of created this arc, this little land bridge, if you will. And it reminded me of scrolls or something right above a door, right? Something, words even, like those words are above a door. And when you think about, go way back into your school, you might have studied Greek mythology, or you might have studied metaphysics as an adult. At the Temple of Apollo in Delphi, there were 3 famous aphorisms inscribed above the temple door. Know thyself is the first one. It's the one that everybody kind of talks about the most. Know thyself. And that's what I felt like I was beginning to do there, just by asking a question and realizing I didn't know the answer, meant that I could go a little deeper and know myself a little more. You know, to live a better life, we need to know ourselves fully, to understand that we can dream what our dreams are, to have our thoughts, to have our feelings, whether those are of sadness and woundedness or of strength and celebration. I am not a Trekkie, but I have watched a few Star Trek episodes, and I have to tell you, every time I watch one, I get a metaphysical sermon out of it. I should watch them all. There was one in which Picard, am I saying his name right? That he said, he was asked a question. Someone asked him, have you ever been a stranger to yourself? What a powerful question. Have you ever been a stranger to yourself? Sit with that for just a moment. Is your answer yes? His answer was yes, many, 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 many times. Pretty profound too. Because when we really sit with that disconnection that we feel, with that feeling of not belonging, not knowing what we want, certainly not knowing how we're going to get that thing we don't even know we want, then what we're doing is we're allowing ourselves to dream that dream just a little more, to go a little deeper with it, to think about our self-worth, our self-discovery, our self-control, our God self. These last 3 weeks that I've been kind of all over the place, I've eaten out way more than I usually eat out. I've been on the road 3 weeks. Throughout the pandemic, I think I ate out 3 times in 2.5 years. I've eaten out every day for the last 3 weeks. And it just worked out that way. And what I noticed was I'd kind of forgotten how to eat out, if that makes sense. When you go for 2.5 years without ordering anything, it's like, oh, you're back. What are you here for? And I was eating out with a couple of friends a few times, and I realized that every time they would order something, I would say, oh, that sounds good, I'll have that too. And then the table behind me would have something delivered, and I would be like, oh, that looks good, I'll take that. Do you remember in the movie Runaway Bride? I think it was Julia Roberts who was in that. She left 3 guys, that's the name of the movie. She left three guys at the altar, Runaway Bride. And her friend said, you know, you do this with eggs. Every time you date a new guy and he orders scrambled eggs, you order scrambled eggs. If you date another guy and he has poached eggs, you love poached eggs. You date another guy, he has, you know, just keeps going. And she said, well, I'm trying to get to know myself. And the friend said, you don't know yourself. You don't even know what kind of eggs you like. And it's true. We kind of bounce off of someone else sometimes. But to know ourselves is to ask those personal, individual questions, not of our physical self, not even of our emotional self, but of our whole self, our God self. What does the God within me, the spirit within me know that I sometimes don't, or at least don't align with? You know, to examine our lives is to examine every aspect, to notice that's which self we're talking about. I examined myself when I was in seminary in my 20s. I'm a whole different person now that I'm in my curves, right? And so you have to figure out whose life are you examining here? The one pre-COVID is different than the one post-COVID. The one in your 20s is different than the one in your 60s. And so to know which self is important, I think 2 major things come up in that examination. One is what Chris just talked about, letting go. And to be able to let go in a way in which we, the second thing, trust, exactly what she talked about. I don't need to know, because something, somewhere, somehow, there is knowing already there. And when we think about that, I'm reminded of a quote by Havelock Ellis. He says, all the fine art of living lies in the fine mingling of letting go and holding on. You know, there's a difference, right? Obviously, we're letting go of something or we're holding on to something. The thing that we think we're doing is letting go of a person, a place, a thing, a belief, a circumstance, that thing that no longer serves us. But what we're really doing is letting go of holding on to that thing or person or place or circumstance. Because that's exactly what else she said, is that sense of control that we have to be in control, not only of what it's happening while it's here, but in control of how and when I will let it go. It's a big thing to look at, because when we're holding on to something, we hold on for all the wrong reasons most of the time. We hold on to a grudge, we hold on to excess weight, we hold on to a relationship that doesn't work, we hold on to all these things that really don't serve us. And so when we do that, we can ask those questions. Why am I still dwelling here in this holding on to stuff that doesn't serve? What is it that I'm holding on to that isn't serving me? And why am I continuing to be held to that? I'm reminded of a proverb. I think it is a Chinese proverb that says, let go or be dragged. Let go or be dragged. I love that. How easy is that? Can't you get that visual in your head? We had a dog on the farm that I grew up in. He loved tires. Well, let me say that's better. He loved moving tires. So anytime a tractor or a truck would come through, he would chase that tire. And he caught it a couple of times, unfortunately. And you know, the first thing we thought was let go of it, or you will be dragged. And that happens sometimes, doesn't it? Like we won't let go of something and we get pulled into these conversations or relationships or whatever it is, back and forth. But you know, the truth about holding on is that it actually blocks our happiness. Holding on blocks our success. Letting go liberates us, frees us in order to move forward. You ever felt stuck in something? Like there's just no flow, like you just can't find your creativity, or nothing's working in your life, or nothing's moving. It's that understanding that the first step to happiness is the letting go. Thich Nhat Hanh said that over and over. The first step to happiness is letting go. And when we are able to do that, we're able to, again, examine all the other stuff that we're holding on to. Am I the only one here that has a junk drawer in their kitchen that will weigh my house down during the next tornado, right? I have no idea what's in that junk drawer. We call it a junk drawer, but we all have one, or two, or three, or a closet, or a shed. I don't even know what's in it, but I'm holding on to it just in case, right? Just in case I should need it. I mean, it's so full, it won't even shut. Well, it won't even open, it's so full. So you have to think about if it's not just one thing that we're holding on to that blocks us. A lot of times, my junk drawer is perfectly organized, I must tell you. I bought an organizer during pandemic, as I bought everything else during pandemic. And it's all organized into these little compartments. And we do that with our junk. So when we think about if we do that with all of the clutter that we have, how are we doing that with all of the emotions and thoughts and beliefs that we're holding? If we organize those into places, just in case I need this again, just in case this comes up again, just in case. With the just in case thing, where is the trust? Where's the trust? Chris's song was perfect, because I can trust that there is a power and a presence outside of me, that within me, that will actually lead me to that thing that I want, even if I don't know how to say it yet, how to explain it, how to define it. Because the real work is just ourselves. We're always doing that self-examination. We're always looking at those things of understanding who I am, why I'm here, what I'm supposed to be doing next. I have some wonderful Buddhist friends who think, you know, metaphysicians are nuts, but they have a t-shirt that I bought not long ago, one of their little fairs, that in our language, it would say, relax, everything's under control. Their t-shirt says, relax, nothing is under control. I mean, it's the same thing. It's your choice to relax, to be happy, to be in the moment, right? The illusion is that control is even a thing. I think I'm a good driver. Does that mean I'm safe in my car? Have you met the other drivers on the highway? I mean, so we have this illusion about it. Marie Kondo, did anyone watch Marie Kondo during the pandemic of tidying up? She told you how to get rid of things. What Sparks Joy is her book. Pick it up, anything it is. Does it spark joy? If it doesn't, let it go. Sounds easy enough, right? Until you get in your closet and try to do that, or until you get into your kitchen cabinets and think, well, just in case, I'm going to keep this thing that I haven't used for 10 years. It's looking at it over and over and realizing, where is the trust if I let this go? Whatever this thing is, maybe that's a person, maybe it's a concept, maybe it's a belief, maybe it's a thing that's just holding you back. Are you willing to trust that in the letting go of it, that everything will be okay? Are you willing to trust that if you let go of it, something greater could even come into its place? Are you willing to trust that in that place that something new will come, that you will find your happiness, that you will find your growth, your success? Lao Tzu said, when I let go of who I am, I become what I might be. When I let go of who and what I am, I become what I might be. That moving forward, that forward motion. I took a yoga class not too long ago online. She had me in a pose I'd never been in, and I didn't think was humanly possible. And I was really afraid I would fall. I was on one leg and kind of doing this, I don't know, airplane thing. And she, as if, I mean, this was online, as if she could read my mind through the computer screen. She said, don't worry, if you fall, you can trust that the floor will catch you. There is trust about all things. I was in the fear of falling. The floor was this far away, right? That control thing is based on our fears. And we have a fear of letting go. We have a fear of what might be in that place of abandonment, or that place of the threshold where nothing is. But that's where we insert that trust, that faith, if you will. I will say that when I stand alone in that threshold, whatever that space is, then what you can know is that the questions will arise. Those existential questions of, what am I doing here? Who do I think I am to be here, and ask these sorts of things? I think it was Marie Rilke who said, you have to learn to love the questions of life, and you have to learn to live your way out into the answer. It's not always comfortable to ask the questions. It's never comfortable to sit in the question without an answer. It's never fun to have a problem without a solution. And yet, what we know about the holistic life experience that Socrates said, that it's worth living all of it. It's worth being in the question as much as it's worth being in the answer, because you can't have one without the other. And you don't have to rate one as bad in order to get good. It's part of the whole package. It's part of what all of this life experience is about. And when we live in that centered place of ease, where we're releasing and letting go and being in the flow of life and love, and we give ourselves kind of permission to seek those questions, those answers of our questions, to look for those solutions to our problems, then what we can do is just realize it's really not so hard. We don't have to have all 12 steps lined up when only the first one is the one that matters today. This next logical step, and then the next logical step, and to move into that place with intention. And then to understand that that belonging is much like words that we can pull apart off of altars and off of doorways, and really ask ourselves even more important questions around them. Who am I? What am I doing here? Do I want to change that? Do I want to do it differently? Do I want to do it better? Do I want to do it more or do it less? There's no rules. That's the best thing. And so when we think about it, we get to that place. Rumi said, everything you want wants you. It will meet you halfway. And that's the becoming of life. When you break that word apart, becoming, it is your coming to be into the alignment of that which you want. Knowing yourself is where you begin. Thanks for letting me share this tonight. Good to see you. Yes.